What's good, gang? Welcome back to the Real Sports Talk. I'm your host, Vejan, and in this episode today, we are going to be tapping in with Gonzaga and some players that are on their way in and on their way out. We're also going to talk about what it's going to take for Gonzaga to make another run next year to the Final Four and to the national championship. And we're going to talk about a couple players that are going to step in and maybe fill some of those roles for the Malachi Smiths of the world that are leaving. What's good, gang? Welcome back to the Real Sports Talk. And in my opening monologue today, we're going to be talking about the Gonzaga Bulldogs. Last season, the Gonzaga Bulldogs went to the Elite Eight, which was the fifth time that they've been to the Elite Eight since 2015. Since Mark Few has taken over for the Gonzaga Bulldogs in 1999, the Zags have been to two Final Four appearances under Mark Few since one in 2017 and the other one in 2021. At half versus the North Carolina Tar Heels, they were up 35-32, and with a minute to go of the game, they were down 67-66, and they had multiple possessions towards the end to maybe cut down that deficit, and they ended up losing by, I want to say, 6 or 7 points. I don't have the final score in front of me. But if you do remember the North Carolina Gonzaga game from 2017, it came down to the very end, the last minute. It was a really good game. Gonzaga just had multiple turnovers towards the end, which kind of just screwed them out of any possibility of beating the North Carolina Tar Heels. On this team, though, they were guard-oriented. They had Nigel Williams-Goss and Josh Perkins, who, if you follow Gonzaga, you know that Josh Perkins is a fan favorite, and Nigel Williams-Goss is probably one of my favorite Gonzaga players of all time. In 2021, they had Jalen Suggs and Nemhart, who were their two guards, and they went back to the national championship that year. That was a really good season. That year, I swore they beat everybody by like 30 points. Like, it didn't matter who they were facing. That team was really, really good. We won't get too much into the Baylor Gonzaga game because we all know how that ended. They got mollywopped, but one of the things though that was really encouraging to me and that I really enjoyed was watching Jalen Suggs and Nemhart, two really good guard combination that were able to come together, gel together. I always say this, like, Gonzaga is a run and gun team. They're always get up and down, up and down. And that's one of the things they weren't able to do with Drew Timme being your focal point, which is not a bad thing. Drew Timme is the all-time leading scorer in Gonzaga history, so obviously it worked well for Mark Few. But with Drew Timme, the offense has got to slow down. Now, with the insertion of the Nemhart brother, you have Rasir Bolton coming back. You're gonna have Steele. You're gonna have you got a full deck. You got Anton. You got all of them. But it's the guard play. The Nemharts of the world got to play this year really good. You have I always forget this kid's name. Nolan Hickman. You got Nolan Hickman, who is going to be moved over I believe he's going to be moved to the shooting guard this year, which I think, as if you've watched my first episode, you would know. I have said that Nolan Hickman is a two guard. He can play point guard, but he is a two guard. That's just what he plays. Back though to the guard play, I think the guard play is very important though. That is going to be, if Gonzaga goes to the national championship this year or not, is going to be off of the guard play. They got a couple players that are in the possibility of coming to Gonzaga. You got Grant Nelson from North Dakota State University. There's a couple of players that Gonzaga's in the mix for right now. You got one player that's already on the roster that is a incoming freshman. His name is Dusty Stromer. I'm sorry if I said his last name incorrectly, but Dusty played against Bronny, and one of the games that I watched, which was one of their final games versus Bronny James. Everybody always hypes up Bronny James, and I say this all the time. Anybody that watched Dusty play knew that he was probably the second best player on the court that day. Maybe third, quite possibly, but he's a really good player that can definitely take over. He's 18 years old, so there might be some growing pains with that. He might not be able to step in. What's good, gang? Welcome back to the Real Sports Talk. I'm your host, Vejan, and in this segment today, we're going to be tapping in with Anton Watson. He posted on his social media Wednesday night 2 words, "I'm back." And That is something that Gonzaga really needed this year. Gonzaga, with the loss of two centers, they really need some help in the backcourt or in the front court, and I think Anton will add that. Anton is coming back for his fifth season this year. This is going to be his year to really take that leadership role, to maybe advance on the three pointers. That was something that I have been really critical about Anton Watson, is his 3 point ability. I really think that he should be better at the 3 point shooting. Anton, I remember watching a game where it was versus Mount Spokane, and they had this dude with long hair, and he was really good. And Anton took him to the cleaners, scored like 40 points that night, hit like 4 or 5 threes, hit like three threes in a row. It was the first game of the season versus Mount Spokane. And I was like, damn, like I ain't never seen Anton play before, but I was like, yeah, Anton's the real deal for sure. This past season, Anton, in his fourth year, he averaged a career high 11 points on 6.2 boards and 2.4 assists, and that earned him an All WCC honorable mention. And that's pretty good. He is second all time in WCC. He's going to be second all time in WCC steals behind John Stockton, which I don't think anybody will ever touch John Stockton's record of steals. That just how it's going to go. As I was saying, the Anton Watson had multiple meetings with NBA executives. He met with the Lakers and Pacers and some other teams as well. I really think Anton is going to be a second round pick next year. He 6'8", 6'7", 225. Anton's got the frame. I just really think that this year was a good year to go talk to execs, go see what they want him to improve on, see what they need for him to get to that next level. Now he knows. Now he's got a whole season to be that dude, and I think that's what Anton really needs. I really think this year Anton could really put up probably 15-8. I realistically think 15-8 is what Anton could get. It's going to be interesting to see with Ben Gregg. Ben Gregg's dad posted on social media. Basically, I don't have the quotes in front of me, but that he was just super excited that Anton is coming back. And I thought it was super amazing just because, like your son, Ben Gregg, is as a hooper as well. You want him to get as many minutes as possible so that way he can get as much tape as possible so that way he can go to the next level. That just shows the type of character, the type of people that are at Gonzaga. They want to win as a team, and that is why Gonzaga is so successful every year. Anton had the best 2-point field goal percentage in the conference last season, while guarding pretty much every night the most skilled big man. If not a 2-guard, 3-guard, Anton can switch on to a point guard. He can play 1 through 4 easily. 5 he might have a little problem. He is 225, so I mean he is a little light on that end, but Anton can really do it. As I was saying, I'm excited that Anton's coming back this season. Anton is going to be a key contributor. He had 5 double-doubles this past season on 60% shooting. That is really good. That is very efficient scoring, crazy efficient scoring. And if he can do that again on a more volume of shots, easily will be a draft pick next year. Easily. I'm not going to put everything on it, but I really... What's good, gang? Welcome back to The Real Sports Talk. I am your host, Vejan, and in this segment today, we're going to be tapping in with Malachi Smith, who is leaving his name in the NBA draft. And if you follow Gonzaga, you kind of had an inkling that this may happen, especially as Brazier Bolton came back this past season, and you have Nolan Hickman on top of Ryan Nembhard, who just transferred in with Steel Venters. I really don't think there was I don't think there was as many minutes there as he would have wanted. He averaged 20 minutes last season per game. He's a 6'4", 205-pound, I would say combo guard, averaging 8.7 points, 3.6 rebounds, and 1.4 assists per game. And he shot 53% and 50% from the three-pointer, and a free throw percentage of 79%, which is really good. He had a really good percentage he takes really high percentage shots. He's a really good three-point shooter. If you were watching towards the end, especially in towards like the end of the tournament and things like that, he played a really, really big role in the second half. He played a lot of second halves in the NCAA tournament. And I always say it's not who starts the game, it's who ends the game. That's who the coach trusts. The starting lineup don't matter. Whoever's in the starting lineup don't matter. It's who is ending the game that the coaches really trust. As I was saying though, with the transfer of Nembhard coming in, I really think that those two are going to be competing for time, and I don't think that he wants to have another season where he sits down and he only plays 20 minutes. I have also been told that the NIL value for him, it was not as good as it would be if he was to go pro, and I think that is pretty important as well. I think that I don't think he's going to be drafted, honestly. I did not see him on any of the top 70 lists or anything like that. But I think he can go overseas, and there's nothing wrong with going overseas. I had Jeremy Pargo tell me one time that I asked him, I'm like, why do you go overseas when you could come to the NBA and play in the NBA? And he told me that he does not want to play in the NBA, and players that are on like the end of the bench and things like that don't want to play in the NBA when they could go overseas and they can be that dude. They can go play 30 minutes a game. They could go shoot as many shots as they want. They're going to go get a bag overseas instead, or they can go sit on the end of the Cleveland Cavaliers bench. And because I used to always think, like, why do players go overseas? Like, that's stupid. Why wouldn't you want to play in the NBA? But as I get older, I understand, like, first off, you want to be able to play as long as you can. As long as your body allows you to play, I think you should play. Overseas is what I'm seeing for him. With that being said, though, as well, you have Dusty Stromer, who is coming in, who is a freshman who we talked about a little bit in the beginning of this episode. I really think, as I was saying earlier, he's going to come in and take a lot of those minutes as well. He's going to be one of those guards that eat up minutes while Nolan Hickman and Nembhard are on the bench. And yeah, we hope the best for Malachi Smith, though. Malachi Smith was a stud while he was here. Never caused problems. I never heard about